What is going on, everybody? I'm Jonathan Farrell, and welcome back to the Selling Yourself or Selling Yourself Short podcast. Got some special crew members with us today. We have Mr. Rick Hancock with the Two Mortgage Guys. We have Mr. Scott Hardy and Miss Palmer Hardy with Hardy Real Estate Team. How are you all doing today?
Great. Hardy Realtors is part of Hardy Homes and Estates.
Perfect.
Just so you know.
Dang it, I
Just
messed
so
that
you
one
know.
up.
I'm just.
Okay. It's all the same thing.
It's better. People like to watch our mistakes.
I like
They do,
watching my
they
own
do.
mistake.
Everyone's editing. Just so you know, for everyone out there, we just got through doing a huge study with some influencers in San Francisco. People that have they post something on the internet and they have 1.2 million likes. Those kind of people.
Yeah.
So our friend Terry has a Cobra and he does this whole AskTerry.com thing and all this stuff. And he was like, they don't want you to be fancy anymore. They meaning us. We're all consumers, right? And
the filters.
Remember how much you edit?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like you're not you're supposed to edit and put it all. Just do it and put the raw stuff up there and right. I mean, aren't you kind of doing that now?
Yeah. So with a lot of it, I'm getting a lot of traction with just phone, basically.
Just do it.
With the office, with the phone and stuff. Yeah. And then high quality stuff always looks awesome, but I mean, the quicker the better.
Right.
Just like my post yesterday, because we just got rated as the top 3 best rated mortgage companies in Marietta. I just took a screenshot.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I just took a screenshot and posted it. I was like, all right, cool. So
why do you think that is? Before we get into what's going on with the market, why do you think you're one of the top 3 mortgage companies?
It's because communication.
Okay, so you're newer with him. Why do you think you guys are? And you might want to get closer to the microphone.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, you're pretty far.
Here, wait. Is this okay?
Speak loudly and clearly into the
Point
Put it in
right
the
in the
middle.
middle.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I think we have a good team. Communication is key, but I think in the office we all communicate really well. We have several different methods of communication. So if someone's got a question about some crazy loan they're doing or some facet we don't understand, it's posted on a group chat or a Slack chat, and we all have access to that information. So we're all kind of learning and communicating at the same time.
Also with our clients too, because we set ourselves apart, whereas we're not just an individual, right? When you're working with me, you're not just working with myself, you're working with Tyler, Rick, Judy, all the members of our team, right? So basically, if I'm unavailable, you know that somebody else will be available to take that question, and it's just that level of communication, customer service. I mean, if you take a look, obviously, within our business, we've grown substantially just because of the amount of reviews and everything else that we've gotten. That's actually what the award was for, is because we have a very high review rate. And I mean, you probably see out of maybe 72 reviews, maybe 1 or 2 of them that basically didn't meet expectations, which is fine. I'll take the 4.9.
How do you handle a problem?
Yeah, I mean, because
that's what matters.
It's especially with those people, because I've even communicated with those people after leaving the review and just said, look, I apologize, this expectation that this wasn't set to your appropriate expectations. How could we do better, right? And I feel like that is something that a lot of people do not do, where they will try and learn from that mistake. Like the one lady was just like, look, I did, and actually that review was what made me introduce the team into the communication aspect, because she's like, I was trying to get a hold of you and you're in a meeting. I didn't know who else to turn to. My loan funded, I still closed,
right?
But I she was one of those demanding type of clients, right? So now it's like, okay, great. Let's actually take this negative, turn it into a positive. Let's actually introduce, and as Rick will know, when we open escrow, I send a blanket email out or a blanket text message out. Here's this person's phone number. They are on this group text. We're all here. So that way, if I'm not available, Rick's available. Rick can take your call. If Rick's not available, Tyler's available. And so that makes it easy, so that way the client feels like I'm being taken care of from the aspect of the team. It's not just one person. And you'll even see with our branding, I don't brand myself as a solo loan officer. My team is the Two Mortgage Guys team, which now is 18 freaking people.
It's like the 8 mortgage guys now.
But that's the joke, So the way that was branded and built was specifically from the aspect of, it's not just me, it's a full team effort here.
Well, have you created a system where, let's say you had a family emergency and you had to be gone for 2 weeks today, it happened. So you've created a situation where just because you're gone, stuff can still flow and happen.
Actually, that's how the main reason why this was created was because I like to travel and I like to go out of country. And I was gone for 2 weeks during that time. I still have loans to be funded.
Yeah, of course.
So now obviously kids and everything else changes things. I still take my vacations, work still gets done, everything else. But Like the client knows like, hey, John's not going to be here. I still have these people who I can communicate with. Like actually that was the main purpose that the team was even created, because I was like, I'm going to Europe for 2.5 weeks and I'm not going to be available during that time. So-and-so is taking over, but that person was introduced from the very beginning. So the client felt like there was still that level of customer service.
It's not this random person they
Yeah,
don't know.
not this random person. Oh yeah, by the way, I have so-and-so taking over my files.
That's kind of what we do. Like if I speak to a client for the first time, I always make sure they know that they will be working with me, Jill, and Paige. You know, and we all will answer the phone and stuff. And this one client has dealt with all three of us within the span of a week and stuff, and so they're really comfortable with whoever we
dealing
are.
with whoever.
I'm even called Paige sometimes. So I'm like, whatever, we sound the same.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same.
Now let me ask you a question though. Like regarding that too, like biggest thing that you just said, right, is introducing that from the very beginning, right? Because if you're halfway through a transaction and then you pass off to somebody else, you're feeling like you passed off, right? Yeah. It's not just like, oh man,
someone
like
pawned you
somebody
off
pawned me off to somebody else, right? Whereas if from the very beginning, and even from my initial point of contact with the client, I'll immediately tell them, hey, just so you know, Judy might be calling you, Rick might be calling you, Tyler might be calling you. Like it's a full team effort here, right?
Well, I was gonna ask your opinion on that because you've ran plenty of teams, all different types of companies and stuff. And as far as that goes, dealing with one client but multiple people, does that seem to work really well in case of an emergency, in case of changes and?
Yeah, I mean, the part of what I watch happen with your organization is, I mean, remember, I'm a know-it-all. Sure. I mean, I've done everything wrong, and I've owned this is true. I've owned every type of trenching shovel. Okay, so I know what a rut is. I know what, I mean, I did. Most people don't realize that they do everything right. It's just all mixed up.
I'll bring that up. It's
all mixed up, and the order's wrong. Right, so you have your process of bringing a client in, and you touch the client, and this is a perfect example of what you were talking about. And then you're the salesperson, so I've got this, and now I'm going to be in front of you all the time, and then I'm going to manage all of this. And there was a time where that worked because you had assistants and a marketing department and all. I mean, this is the world's changed. When I first got a job, I had a big old American Express card. They gave me $1,000 cash in case I had incidentals for my expense reports, and we traveled, and there was luscious everything and food. And today it's like, I don't know, can you work from home? Maybe they'll use their own pen. Maybe they'll use their own file. I mean, the work from home scam is a whole nother topic we can talk about, because if you've never worked from home before, you will do nothing but work from home. Yeah. Because you'll never stop, because you don't know anything, because your company is like, look, I'm going to make everyone proud. I'm on the phone at 6:00 in the morning. I'm sending emails. Look at this. Look, I'm still in my underwear and I'm working for you. It's at night. My kids are asleep and I'm on the internet and the phone is making me stay awake and I'm working for you and I'm working for you. Okay. Nobody stops like you did, Jonathan. Nobody stops. Okay. And sometimes you stop and look at what you're doing because of what you said. You get a bad review. You have a client who says, I'm done with you. You have a salesperson that's your top salesperson says, you know what, I'm sick of this. I don't like the way you guys do anything. You don't listen to anybody. See, so I have a more aggressive stance with people, and it goes like this. You have a problem with your employees? I know. You have a problem. You have a problem with your clients? You have a problem, right? Why don't you fix your problem? What's the problem? The problem is always the same. And that is, I can't get a hold of anyone. I have no idea what's going on. Well, we sent you an email. Well, that doesn't count. I sent you a text. That doesn't count either. Because if I need information now, what's the way we do it? Talky talk.
Get on the phone.
Texty text is for children and adults having affairs. It is not. It is not for business. And it somehow became for business. Try to keep track of that. Do you know what you have to do, Jonathan? Does anyone know what you have to do if you want to pull your records on your text? Do you download and print the email? No, it's a text. You got to call the phone company, okay? So everything's complicated, and everyone wants to do this. Everyone wants to let me do it, leave me alone. Everyone wants a shortcut. And what you figured out is a really simple thing, is that if I tell you that now that you and I have touched, I have this entire team that's going to support you. They do all different things, but it doesn't matter, because when you need something, you call anyone you want. Right. Okay? Yep. And we have in this business what we call the Holy Trinity. Who's the Holy Trinity? Does anybody remember who the Holy Trinity is?
Sales.
The salesperson?
Process.
Let's say for mortgage loan officer.
Sure.
the escrow company and the real estate agent, right? The customer. Where's the customer? We don't need the customer in the Holy Trinity because the customer is the one that you guys are all communicating with.
Right.
Communicate with the customer, the escrow company, and the real estate agent as a mortgage loan officer constantly, always, every day. And the final thing I will say is that the problem that we have is that when I'm a customer and I come to you and I say, hey, can I get a loan rate? I'm going to get a loan. And Palmer refers me to you because it starts with the real estate agent. I mean, I've heard so many mortgage loan officers that say, we're still trying to figure out how to get the real estate agent out of the deal. I said, I know, I'm trying to get the customer out. If I can get the employees and the customers out of my life, I'll have a super good business because that's where all the problems come from. Employees and customers, right? So let's just get rid of them. Well, good. That's what a lot of people do. They don't change their system. Everyone has an attitude. I'm this, I'm a worker. Give me what I want. I call you up and I want to take out a loan. I don't know what the process is. And then you do the first mistake. Does anyone know what the first mistake is? Rick, do you remember what the first mistake was when you were new to the business? When someone called up and said, and you talked to them for the first time and they wanted to get a loan? What was the first mistake you made back then?
Giving a rate?
Scheduled a time to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Hello? Why are you on the phone?
Time.
Stop everything and help them. Oh, but I'm so busy. Well, guess what? I'll get rid of you. I don't need you. If you look at the number of leads we sent to this company, half of them went into the toilet because of that system. That's the way they did it. They were like, I'll set an appointment. Do you know what that comes from? You making too much money and being arrogant. You making too much money and be arrogant. You making too much money and be arrogant. Yeah. That's all. It happens to all of us. I'm an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. And if you give me some money, now I'm like the king. Well, okay, that's what salespeople do. So we need some system. So when you have a salesperson that starts a company, which is common, they don't know how to run a company. Have you had to get a lot of coaching?
Definitely.
You seem like you take advice really well, right?
I get a lot of coaching.
So his company's gotten better. Two Mortgage Guys is a fantastic mortgage operation because they listen to the client. And in our business, I'm the client. I'm the broker of Hardy Realtors. If I say we can't send any more deals to them because I don't like Jonathan's attitude, tomorrow they get no more deals.
Yep.
That's that. It's over with. So now who's the client? So I'm the client. Now follow me. If you're a mortgage lender, you better listen up. Here's the deal, and Jonathan learned this. I am the golden goose, and I'm going to send a deal. That's a person. It's my client. It's not your client. It's my client.
Yep.
So you're going to do everything I say in the sales cycle, or I'm pulling my client. My client doesn't know anything about anything except their experience with me. And with me, they communicate with us all the time. When my wife's phone rings, she answers it. When her phone rings, she answers it. When my phone rings, it answers it. Okay, we have it ringing through a cloud-based system like you do. It rings everywhere, so no phone call is going to get missed. When someone says, I want to buy, what do? We stop everything and we help you. Because why can I do that? Because when I brought you in, I said, Rick's going to help you. I'm going to help you. You're going to help. Everyone's going to help you. So you don't think twice about anyone sending you an email or a phone call or anything in your business because you're like, hey, they told me that they're all working together to get this done. And the reason why is because of this last thing I'm going to tell you. The salesperson's job in an effective organization like yours at Two Mortgage Guys or Hardy Realtors is to meet with the client, do the licensed activities, and go do that again. Yep. So that looks like this in our business. We go, she may talk to you on the phone and qualify you. Then says, well, are you pre-approved for a loan? No. Okay, you need to talk to, Mr. Hancock. Rick Hancock's going to take it. He's going to take all of it. Once we get the pre-approval letter, we're going to take you out to see homes. We can't do anything because we don't even know what you could afford.
Well, the amount of times that it's happened in the past where someone is looking at $600,000 homes and then later gets a pre-approval for like $450,000, they don't have that gap. So it's a waste of time. So Mom and Paige have learned.
So that's what the agent. So the agent touches them when they're ready to go look. Now they don't need to. there's no hero in it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Jill Hardy or Scott Hardy or Paige or anyone didn't work with you through it doesn't matter. I have a team just like you. Mm-hmm. So what happens is that I'm going to touch you when my skill set matters. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Did you catch that? When my skill set matters. Does my skill set help to fill out a mortgage app? No, I'm a real estate broker. I haven't filled out by the way, I've never filled out a mortgage app in my life. My wife does. I literally. Okay. So I'm going
There's those types of people, okay? Because that's how I'm the one who fills out everything. And I'm like, do you want to do it? She's like, can you do it for me? I'm like, I'm on it.
So we want to get with the personality type and the role for the best part. So the administrative stuff, people are better administrative than me and all of these things, right? So that I can be free. And this is the point I'm trying to get to. As a sales professional, to greet prospective buyers that are qualified.
Right.
I am expert level like you. I do not need to spend my time talking about maybe you could afford between $350 to $700. This doesn't do anybody any good to speculate. Right. So we've taken the sales cycle and we've broken it up into its pieces. But as we present everything to the client, we present everything as a we. Mm-hmm. A we. And that is what Two Mortgage Guys has done. We are going to help you. I have this role. She has this role. And he has that role. However, when all else fails, dial this number.
Yep.
Just call here. Call the sales gate. That's what we used to call it. Yep. Call the sales gate, because when the sales gate opens, everything's available to you.
Exactly.
All right.
Because you're also playing off your strengths too, right? So again, I'm the upfront guy. That's what I always say. I'm the front man when it comes to everything. Like, I do very good front work, the back end side of it, paperwork, putting in the application, doing all this stuff. I do not do well with that.
Well, why
so I'm
would
playing
you?
To my strengths.
But you okay? Let's clarify this. People say this all the time. Somebody said to me once, "I'm terrible at accounting." I said, "Why?" Well, I don't know. I just never done it. Well, then that's why you're bad at it. Mm-hmm. It's not because you couldn't learn it.
Right.
I know. The reason why I'm saying this is that I don't want anyone to get the impression you don't know how to do the paperwork. You know how to do everything.
I know how to do everything.
Where's your best time spent? Okay. Do you see me? Does anyone in this room ever see me go out and write a deal? No. Because now my skill is better used to duplicate myself.
Yep.
And that's what I see you doing, right? So Rick comes in and Rick is following your initial plan, and there's too big of a gap. We talk, you take advice. We're like, hey, did you know that you're losing sales because you're doing one thing? You have your order wrong. Mm-hmm. The order is when you touch them, you begin filling out the app. I'm not going to stay on the phone for all the uploads of your checking account, but I'm going to make sure you get going, and we're going to get this. And we actually do exercises, which we're doing next week with Rick, is we lay out on a board and we write out the actual steps so that we can visually see them when we say step 3 and 4 backwards. Then we reverse it.
Rick knows this is my process too. Because I mean, when I get on the phone with people and I ask them various questions, I'll maybe jot down like a note or two. But my goal is to get them comfortable enough to fill out the online application, upload all their stuff. Once that happens, it moves on to the next piece of the process.
Okay, so how do you do that? Because this is a show on selling. So
sure.
How do you get them to, quote, fill out the application?
Build rapport all day long.
Okay. So, well, I'm doing this on purpose because I'm leading to something as usual, right? So what? Just how would you, if I call you up?
Yeah.
How are you going to ask me to fill out the application? When are you going to? What are you going to say?
Typically, what I do is and this is what I think I just mentioned this in our last staff meeting too, is if I'm just straight up just saying, here's my online app, complete it without talking to them first, there's no way that they're going to feel comfortable enough to put in their financial information, right? So I go about it by building rapport with them, get them comfortable enough where I say, hey, look, now I'm going to get your email. I'm going to send you my online application. I would like for you to complete this online application, and then we're going to move to the next step of the process. So how I do that is, first and foremost, I'm goofy. I'm going to crack a quick joke with you. I'm going to make you laugh real quick. And then I'm going to go into, okay, now let's talk about comfortability, right? How much are you comfortable with your monthly payment? And I make them feel like, actually think like, I'm comfortable with this monthly payment. Okay, great. That's probably going to put you around this type of purchase price. Now, how much is your down payment? Okay, great. Ask them these specific qualifying questions, which makes them think, okay, now this is where I actually want to be. I give them some information as far as like, look, there's various programs that are available. I'm going to qualify you for all of them. But the next step of the process is I need you to complete this online application. So that's typically a 10 to 15 minute phone call where I build enough rapport with them, where I get them comfortable with now completing their application online. Because before, when I would hop on the phone with somebody, I'd have to print up an application, manually write out everything, send that to them for them to sign. Then they got to email me all this documentation or come in and bring in their documentation to me. And it would take typically anywhere from like an hour to an hour and 30 minutes.
Well, that's technology, though.
Right.
That
exactly.
was fixed because of technology.
But even then moving that on to the next process, right? So because for us now there's like the standardized operations of this person has now completed Home Connect. That is now moved to the next piece of the puzzle. Home Connect is our online application. This person has now done that. Message like either Judy, Tyler, whoever, Rick, say, hey, this person completed Home Connect. Go build out the file. They put together the options. I'll then jump back on the phone with this person saying, you qualify for this.
Okay.
Here's the options and everything else. But by that time, I'm already moving on to the next client.
Yeah.
I'm already moving on to bring in more and more business from that.
Okay, so
I think it creates a level of efficiency.
well,
Right? I mean,
okay,
and
but
that's so important because you have, like the way he's saying, he pulls them in, he gets to know them. It's a stressful time giving someone else your financials. Stressful, right? But then he's got someone on the back end to handle the back end stuff, which is a whole different level of complication, complexity that people only understand when they buy a home. There's way more into it than people actually think of just getting approved for a loan. Okay, here, go buy a house. But it gets passed to 6 or 7 different people during the process, so it makes everything more efficient, right?
okay, so let's
I think
talk
that's
about
key.
that because I want to hear more from you about that. But I want to get to where the setup. I was setting you up so I could bring this up. Okay.
Sure.
So the question becomes: I would back up and say, Rick just talked to me about efficiency, and I'm just going to give you the right off the cuff. That didn't sound efficient to me at all. I was starting to get anxious because it's taking so long to listen to what the hell you do. Just right, because this is where we want to figure some stuff out but it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong at all. Sure. It doesn't mean that there's any way we can change it and make it better or anything. So here's the consideration. So I'm going to step back for a second and tell us how we fixed your apartment in New York when we couldn't figure out that tiny little room, which was, I think, this big, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we were like, where do we put the bed? If we put the bed down, there's no storage, there's no anything. What? And I said to you, why don't you think about hanging it from the ceiling? Like, let's just look at it let's stop thinking about beds have to go. What if you could put it upside down and what did we end up doing?
We ended up basically building a bunk bed.
A giant bunk bed, right?
Yeah.
That had storage and all this stuff. Okay.
Like instead of a bed underneath, it was just storage.
Right. And we couldn't, and at first, when we started trying to figure it out, we couldn't break loose. And the reason why we couldn't break loose is because we were confined with the idea that a square room has a bed over here and a table here and a lamp here. And that's the thing. Like we're programmed for that. So with that in mind,
we could add so many things to that when it comes to a house.
And so with that in mind, when I talk about sales process, which is what we're talking about, bringing the loan in, getting someone through the system, I challenge it, not because I think I'm right or anything, just because I'm like, let's just try to think of this differently. What if, and have you ever tried to use the application as your needs analysis and walking through? And I'm making this up as I go.
Sure.
So I would say, hey, it's great. Obviously I'm going to establish rapport. Then I'm going to establish credibility, why you should be working with us. I'm not going to, but let's back up for a second. Your organization is so good that you're getting people referred to you. All of our clients go. We do a lot of business. All of our clients come to you. All of them come to you, okay? And that's because you earned it, all right? But they're being handled correctly. So what if you take a lead and you realize there's no selling? You only sell yourself out of it.
Right.
When you get a hot prospect from Party Realtors, don't sell. You may blow it.
Right.
So get it going. And so the process becomes, hey, Jonathan, so, thank you, for giving us a call today, or, answering my call, whatever the heck the deal is. And what we're going to do today is we're going to go through a process, make sure that you're qualified to get the home you want.
Right.
And that is I'm just making this up now so we could work on it later, but I want to make sure you're qualified to get the home you want. So there's a process we first have to start through. I sent you a link. Are you near your email? Yes, I am. Great. All right. If the answer's no, when will you be? So I'm going to keep it as close as I can. I'm going to draw out nothing. If you say you want to do it, I want to do it now. And I'm never going to ask you if you want to do it. I'm going to tell you, don't raise your hand right now, young lady. I can see you there. Okay. I'm going to say to you, we need to start the application process so we can determine. So that's what we're going to do. And through this process, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. And again, I'm not going to stay on. You're going to have to upload your bank statements and some other things. I won't be on the phone call for that. But I am going to show you how to do that. And I'm going to get that started for you. Because I don't know if you remember, but your real estate agent can't do anything for you until you and I finish this.
Right.
Now, I'm not a mortgage loan officer. What's your response to that?
Well, I feel like that is more of the response that we aim for, because it's not like, it's more direct, right? Because that's what I'll tell them too. Like, hey, in order for me to get your pre-approval letter, I'm not just going to issue you a pre-approval letter. You have to complete this right now. Great, you got the online link. Okay, go ahead and complete that. Once you get that back, it notifies me. We get to
Okay, so time out. Again, I keep hearing this. Once you get your link. Okay, here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm never filling it out if you send me the link.
Right.
Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Can I get a high five from everybody in here who has never filled out the link that they're giving to? Okay, so here's what I want. I'm a consumer.
Sure.
Have you ever bought anything?
I bought a lot of stuff.
You're a consumer too. Okay, so here's how consumers operate. I want this. Mm-hmm. I'm giving you money. Help me do it. In fact, do it for me.
Yeah.
So now, sit down with me and walk me through this. Here's the answer I get from the salespeople that hit a wall in their life. I'm too busy. You're too busy to take in a new deal. You don't do anything once you get the deal in. Mortgage loan officers don't do anything once the deal comes in except stress out and run around to everyone else and go, is it done yet? Is it done yet? Is it done? Did you get that paper? Did you get that back? That's what goes on in the back office, consumers. That's what's in the back, okay? So everyone, me, a mortgage, do you know what I do as a real estate broker? I read contracts. That's it. I sign my name. I get 20%. I don't work hard anymore. I don't shovel gravel. Neither do they. They use their brain, and they're smarter than you about this, and so am I. So what we're going to do is you're going to send you the link, and then I'm going to talk to you, and you have the link. And when I talk to you, I say, open the link. And this is where I'm coming from.
Sure.
I believe, because I did it, Solar City had a national close rate of 16.5% on people who called up and said, I want solar. Mm-hmm. 16.5, you'd think it'd be 100, right? So here's why. Follow me on this, it's totally related. They would send the rep out. It took 2 hours to design the system and do everything. And at the very end, they'd say, now let's see if you qualify. And they would run the app.
Sure.
And people would be declined after 2 hours of a presentation.
See, so that I will tell you too, there is a point in time where we say, okay, great, I'm pulling we'll pull credit over that phone on that initial call too.
Right.
Now, I will say one other thing, because I did actually do an analysis of how many people have completed our online application and how many people have not started that yet.
Yes.
So we are at an 80% completion rate of when we send that online application. 80% of the consumers that we talk to have completed that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not saying I'm not judging it. I'm just observing it and reporting it back. What I would say too is, because the process of filling out our application online is very simple, because it's just boom, 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 boom. The way that our application online has been designed is very user friendly, where it does not, like, I sent it to an 80-year-old the other day. He got it back to me in a span of 15 minutes. By that time that he's completing that application online, I'm already on the phone with somebody else getting ready to send out that application.
Right.
So again, then
so you see your role as a sales professional is to send links out.
No, because then I also
I'm just
sell
challenging
them.
that.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
So my main role, the initial step is to send that link out. But
Right.
then, as Rick knows, we had somebody come to us where they completed the application. We put together 5-6 scenarios for them, and this was on one of the deals that you actually just closed, where the client was like dead set on, I'm putting down 20%. I'm putting down 20%. I'm putting down 20%. And I said, well, you know what? You do actually qualify for a 15% down loan where you can prepay your mortgage insurance. And I'm going to give you a lender credit to cover that mortgage insurance. This is where I come into selling, right? So my main focus is once they're in front of me and they've had the application completed, now I'm selling them on the program.
But there's no one else who could walk them through the application except a licensed individual, correct?
No,
Or is that not correct?
that's not correct.
Okay, so
So-
can other people?
Yes. So basically, in our rule of thumb is if you are employed by a company, by a mortgage company, the mortgage company, if you don't have your license, the only thing that you cannot do is quote an interest rate.
Okay.
So if I have an assistant calling them, they can walk them through, take the entire application. They cannot quote an interest rate. That's the only thing that they're not able to
And remember, we're not, okay, just like with Palmer when we said, maybe put your mattress on the ceiling and sleep up. Okay, obviously it's not even realistic.
Sure.
That can't help. There's a thing called gravity.
do. Right.
Just like with what I'm playing with you today. Okay, I hear things like, I know you talk, you're like, hey man, I got 80%. That's not what I hear. I hear 20's not.
True.
That's how I listen.
True.
Okay, so I'm a bad listener. I talk more.
Yeah. You know what? That's
So my question is only, what do you think of that process? And that's why I was trying to open that
Sure.
up more. You know, I know you guys well, and I can tell for a second you're taking it almost like a kind of personal. I'm like, no, I'm just saying, what if? What if?
Yeah.
What if? So is that possible? Because this is just not about us. I feel like we do a great job. I mean, seriously.
Definitely.
I mean, this is a phenomenal
Well
group.
together.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not what this is about.
Terrible.
This is about all of you out there.
Mhm.
Okay, because you and I know that you're number 3, which means there's a whole bunch behind you and
Sure.
only 2 ahead of you, right? Like, okay, so things like that. We want to say, as a salesperson, can we change our thinking? Can we get our ego out of it? Can we understand that to be of service to another person is literally, you're going to get everything you want.
True.
And just help them. Help them. And I'm always coming from that standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm brutal about that in my business. She knows. I'm like, why are they doing that? And they are the client. Why is the process? Why are they doing? Why are they waiting? Why do they wait? How? This is the dream situation. I thought of getting a mortgage, and in my inbox came the pre-approval letter from 2 mortgage guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do we get close to
Get
that?
to that, right? Yeah, and I will say too, because actually we went through in our office meeting, we went through initial disclosures yesterday. So we went through the entire process because there are those types of people that are like, I need to come into your office and sit with you.
Still, did you do that?
We do that still. So
I didn't know you just still did that.
Yeah, so it actually, we just talked about this because, no joke, on Monday, so we're recording now on what day? I don't even
Thursday?
know.
Thursday. I think it's
So,
Thursday.
what day is it?
Today's
So,
Thursday.
Monday,
Thursday.
I met with a client. I met with them over the phone. Basically had a meeting because they're up in Northern California. I'm in Southern California.
Okay.
I literally went through an hour-and-a-half process with them of completing the initial disclosures, going through each and every intricate detail. And so my thought was, I'm going to walk into my staff meeting and I'm going to explain to my other loan officers what each and every individual disclosure means, because there will come a time, and like I said, this happens maybe 9 out of 10 times. The client doesn't read it. They just click the button. It adds their signature. We're good to go. But on occasion, you do have those people that are like, I need to know what each and every individual thing that I'm signing is, and I need to go through each and every single step of the application process with you.
Yes.
I will never turn down a client or never have a client, like never go through that and say, you know what, I don't have the time to talk with you. Because again, going through that process, like especially explaining each and every single document, it typically takes an hour to an hour and a half.
Right.
Now, I will 100% schedule time with my clients to do that and go through that individual process with them. But again, 9 out of 10 people are boom, boom, boom. Don't worry about it, God.
Right,
like,
right,
don't
right.
question it. Don't.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
And I think a lot of that too is the change of industry,
True.
right? So in that meeting, he was saying back in 2010 when you got started,
2010 when I started, I met with every single
everyone
person.
wanted to meet, which makes sense, right?
Sure, right.
And now the industry, which I was going to bring up earlier, you've been through several cycles of the housing industry, so you've seen it from a different perspective. But we're in this crazy peak where everybody's offering so much over asking price. Everything's got to be fast. You got to be
1989.
pre-approved before you can even see a house, and
Yeah.
COVID changed that. So that it's in this rapid pace style industry. So I think a lot of it is the industry change where people are like, you know what, let's just get this done.
Yep.
I want that house.
Well,
I got to get that house.
It's like a no BS type of situation. Like, we're not messing around. You got to have all your ducks in a row if we're gonna get this house.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what do you? Okay, so we started with this. This would be a great wrap up. What's going on with the business? I mean, like, what do you see happening in the supply demand? Rick, you were saying something earlier, starting to talk about the statistics.
Yeah,
Are they
I
nationwide?
wanted
or what,
to bring that
what are
up
we talking about?
because, and the reason I wanted to talk about it today is because I'm hearing it from several different facets. Like Paige the other day, I'm on the phone with her and she said everybody's getting crazy during COVID with their house.
A realtor, yeah.
Yes, realtor from Hardy Realtors, Hardy Homes and Estates. Excuse me.
Gotta get
Same
that
thing.
right.
And then Scott talks a lot about these cycles of the housing industry that he's been through. What, 3 of them now?
It's 4.
Right. I'm watching all this back end stuff with each loan, and what people don't see in the back, we get excited about every part of the process.
Yeah.
We finally got something we've been waiting on for 2 weeks. Finally, right? And then a loan funds, and Tyler's jumping up out behind his desk. He's excited. Johnny's excited. We call the client, right? So everybody's in this kind of fast-paced, excited mode. But that's what led to this today, is people are starting to develop this fear of 08, right? What's going to happen when rates rise?
I've been hearing
right?
that for months from clients.
Right. And so I wanted to kind of bring that up to clear it up for the average Joe that doesn't understand what's going on.
Okay.
Right. So now we're starting to see this wave of people that are too scared to
Dumb it
buy
down for me. Come on.
because they think the market is too high. Right. And we can get all into the technicals of it, the details of it. But basically what's going on is, and Johnny will say a good metaphor is there's 8 million people wanting to buy and there's 1 million homes available. Right.
That's not a metaphor. It's not literal.
That's literal.
Literal, excuse me.
Literal statistics from last month.
Right.
So,
Nationwide.
That's why
Nationwide.
people are asking so much over the asking price. It's ridiculous.
It's a simple supply and
Right.
demand.
Yeah, simple supply and demand, but rates are low, so it justifies paying 40 grand over asking price. Makes total sense.
Does it kind of balance out?
So it's starting to
price?
balance out, and that's where people, they read articles from CNN or CNBC and they kind of get the gist of it. But they see government stimulus, they see government programs being handed out, rates are low, but what's going to happen when everything slams on the brakes and everybody's waiting for the rates to rise, and the whole 08 is going to happen all over again? But it's not. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to clear the air up
Sure.
with today.
Can you
It'll
tell?
be different.
Can you guys?
It'll be different.
Can you guys
Something different.
explain- I know Paige has explained it before, but can you literally explain why 08 cannot happen again?
Yeah, so basically it comes down to 2 things, right? So right now interest rates are the lowest that they've ever been, right? Even if interest rates increase by, let's just say 1%, they're still the lowest
lower.
interest
Right.
rates
Right.
that they've ever been.
8% on most of my homes.
Exactly.
6 to 8.
Yeah.
A true
And it's
interest
what,
Most
rate,
of my
3.5
home, my
right
life.
now?
It's not
Yeah.
that big a deal.
a true interest rate. Right now it's very inflated as far as interest rates are concerned because they've been kept at this basic artificial low, but a true interest rate should be 6%, right? So what's going to happen, obviously right now, because of the supply and demand issue, because interest rates are so low, is there's these astronomical housing prices. Like my house has appreciated $120,000 in value in the last
6
year.
months, right?
Yeah, 6
Like
months.
since January?
Yeah, since January.
8 months.
So, the thing to also consider is as interest rates start increasing, which they are going to start increasing.
Right.
They will. It is known.
So refinance now.
Yeah, refinance now. I'll give a plug, 2 mortgage guys. So as they start increasing, what's going to happen is the valuation is going to start decreasing as well because, again,
Equilibrium.
Yeah.
exactly.
It always works towards
it has to do that. So the other thing, too, that we're starting to see is more and more houses are becoming available.
Mhm.
The other thing is that 8 million people, let's just say that there's 1 million homes for sale. Well, that means that there's 1 million less people looking to buy. So now it's going to transition down from that 7 to 7 million. There's still going to be an equal amount of housing, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're approaching what I call the busy time of the season, where I tell Rick, like last year, I was working until 2:00 in the morning every single night, banging stuff out, getting deals closed. We're closing 30 to 50 loans a month almost, and it's gonna start transitioning back. It's a total seller's market right now. It's gonna start transitioning back to that buyer's market. What
Mhm.
happens is during the buyer's market, housing prices also start to fall too,
We see it right now.
all the time.
We track it.
I think
you
it's a
track
market
it.
softening.
We already have
is-
seen it.
Yeah,
In 30
but
days, we saw
I
the
think for
difference.
people paranoid about it, you have to think of it as a market softening rather than
Not
a
a
market
crash.
crash.
Right.
It's not going to crash. There's too many government regulations and rules and
Right.
guidelines
For
and
the
laws
same reason.
for the same
right?
thing
Yeah,
to happen. And the way it was explained to me is we can get into markets and bonds or whatever, but basically we received the same rates, if not better rates, when rates rise, because mortgage-backed securities are bonds.
Correct.
Right?
So
Right?
typically, when the Fed comes in, they announce an interest rate increase. That means credit card rates, auto loan rates,
That are
home
tied to
equity
the
line of
index.
credits that are tied to the index.
Even HELOCs, right?
Yeah.
Home equity lines of credit.
Mortgage-backed securities are a completely different type of interest rate. Whereas what that means for us is people typically take their money and move it into bonds when that happens, because they don't want the market
They have an
fluctuating so
inverse
much.
relationship to interest rates.
Exactly.
That's
So
Yes.
our interest rates actually get better when the Fed actually announces that rates are going to be getting worse or increased. What happens too is when the Fed announced that they're going to cut interest rates, we actually see our interest rates going up. So we
Exactly.
get an inbound phone call from a bunch of our clients. They just cut interest rates. What do they look like? Well, we actually got worse today.
Bonds go up
Bonds
when
go
interests
up.
go
Go up,
down.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's
Right.
actually an inverse relationship, just like what you said, to what actually happens when the Fed makes these types
Yeah.
of announcements.
No.
So
And this is, I want to just insert because I want you to say what you're going to say is that I know. No, this is why it's important to work with smart people. I can get a mortgage loan all over the internet, can't I? Just apply
Yep.
now? Well, who's going to, I'm going to talk to some telemarketer in the back. I
Yeah.
mean, these guys, these are finance people.
Yeah.
That's a big, important thing. I'm
But
a
in their spare
business
time, they're
guy.
reading
Right.
articles.
Right. Okay. So
about
anyway,
it.
And my
we're,
wife-
we're not
my-
your call center.
no, I mean, you see
Yeah.
how they just simplified. You just heard a simplification of an extremely complex
Right.
Yeah.
concept, right?
And to not be worried about the market crash, because I swear there have
Yeah.
been so many people that's like, well, I'm not going to pay over asking because then the market's going to crash and blah blah. I'm like, well, actually,
It's hard to
But-
explain. Yeah, I don't mean to cut
well,
you off.
no. I just have a question. So a lot of people, just the general people in our age group, 20s to 30s and stuff. A lot of people are still renting, right? And a big push to go from renting to buying is because the rental price just doesn't make sense anymore, or your family's growing, whatever it is. Like for us, we stopped renting because just felt like we were throwing our money away.
That's
And
exactly it.
even if you pay just a little bit more in mortgage, at least you're investing.
Well, there's two
But-
things to take a look at, right? Because a mortgage loan, you're also able to write off your taxes, the
Mhm.
property taxes. You're also able to write off your interest. So this is why self-employed people, they buy property. They buy property as a write-off, right?
Yes.
To them, it is a write-off. So you take a look too. If you're saying, I'm going to pay $200 extra to have my own house, you're going to get that money back from the government anyway because
end
your
of the
tax
year.
returns. So, like, from that standpoint, and this is something that we look to educate different people on too, because they're like, same thing. I bought my house payment was $2,300. I'm like, how the heck am I going to make this payment? I'm on commission.
Mhm.
And I went from paying $1,300 a month to $2,300 a month. My house payment now, because I've now refinanced, is only $1,500 a month because I've been able to
Yep.
refinance and bring that in. I've reduced I've got enough equity to remove my PMI completely, like all these
Mhm.
different things. I've now got my monthly payment closer to where it was when I initially bought my house. There's never going to be that perfect scenario, right? It's not going to be that time where this is the time to buy, because what's going to happen is because interest rates are so low, you're still going to be paying like if you wait for the housing crash,
Yeah.
interest rates are going to be back up to 4, 5, 6%.
It's like
Exactly.
pick and
So,
choose your poison.
yeah.
But
at
the
least
point
you can
is,
refinance.
Yeah.
So
you can
people
refinance,
wait for
and
that, but
the
I don't
point
know.
is, you're investing in real estate. It's one of the best things you can do, and there's no real right time, right? And I want you to. I'm going to send you a chart that maybe we can post at the end of the video. But if you look at a 40-year chart of interest rates, they've only come down for 40 years. Now you have the occasional whiplash like here and there, but for 40 years there's a steady decline in interest rates, right? Like what were they in the 80s or 90s? Do you remember?
Well, mine went up to 19% in 1989 when the same thing happened, and everyone was running out of their car. True story. We used to write it. We had to write the offer. So we parked in San Francisco and we sprinted to the front door, and then we filled out the app with the agent there, and then we bought our house a house in San Francisco for $217,000. Okay, in the city
Must have been
in
nice.
1988, and then what happened was, and we had what was called a camel loan. That was the first adjustables, which have practically become illegal almost now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so frowned upon. But anyway, I didn't know what I was signing. I didn't care. We begged, borrowed, and stole for the down payment to get that house to happen. And then in 1989, 1990, interest rates, the index, this went crazy, and the interest rate went from 8% on the house, 8.5%, to 19.5%. Okay, so most of my life, I'm 58 years old, okay, and I bought a home at 28 years old in San Francisco, and you would only imagine I thought I was set. I was like, man, we got it made. I lost that home when I was living in Seattle. I bought the next home, and that home I sold for the same price I bought it after putting $70,000 in remodeling into it. And then 2 years later, I moved, and the .com thing hit, and that house was worth almost $1 million. And so you tell me how to time it, because I sold my house in Aliso Viejo that I bought for $273,000 in 2005 for $820,000. I came out here, I spent it all, I ended up with a $1.5 million mortgage, and I got a letter from the bank in 2009, and it said your house is worth $350,000. We shut off your credit line. So you tell me what to do.
Crazy.
Because if you sell at the top, you buy at the top. If you sell at the bottom, is it? I don't know.
Everything kind of evens
I don't know,
out over
because
time.
what he says is so true. When we lived on Del Rey over here in Temecula, okay, in 2005, that interest rate was 6.75. We had 8.5 all the time. We didn't think twice about it. I had a $4,800 a month payment. I had another house I was building that cost me $12,500 a month.
Right.
Okay. I didn't think twice about any of it. That's just what we were doing. You got a free credit line with every home you purchased. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Here's your credit. Thank you. Here's your credit card. That's your credit line. And that was a way for banks to take the equity out, right?
Right.
So again, poor in 2008 was somebody without an SUV and a big screen TV.
Yep.
It's how society changed.
More
People
like
just
2
changed.
SUVs.
Okay, I started a painting company because I knew you all had a credit line, and you would just say, yeah, go ahead and paint my house and whatever the price.
Yeah.
Everything changed after that. And I can tell you, as a businessman like you in this marketplace, that and we talked about this once, COVID finally got me out of the 2009 market crash. Because it's been, I don't know if you know, and you know this, it's been like this. It's always like this.
It's always like that.
It's never going to change. So if you think this is the best time to go buy a home, you're right. If you think it's the worst time to buy a home, you're right. Because that's just you.
Well, it depends on the individual situation.
That's my point.
If you have no money in the bank, but the interest rates are crazy low, like, sorry, it's not the time for you, or your credit's bad, or whatever.
Right.
I mean, it's
We
not the
are
time
not
for everybody.
all. Okay, the average American has about, you know this, what, 30 grand what is it, 12,000, I think 11,000, 8,000 in the bank. Most people can't afford a $400 unforeseen bill in the month in the United States.
Yep.
Okay, so we talk about all this stuff. Half the people watching the show, they couldn't get enough money together for a down payment if their life depended on it. They're in a fixed income job. They make $60,000 a year. That's it. They're barely getting by with
For
the
a family
taxes and
of 4.
everything else. They get $5,000 a month gross by their time. They have like $2,800 to pay all their bills and everything else. The reality is that this is the challenge in America. So what these gentlemen are offering all of us is the ability to get with a serious financial advisor who is your fiduciary representative. And these guys, as with us, we are completely responsible for the advice we're giving you.
Absolutely.
And you will learn what I learned in 1999 before I was in real estate, and I moved from Sacramento with this little girl, okay, down to a town called Aliso Viejo. But I wasn't in Aliso Viejo. As an owner, I was there renting, and I was looking for a house in Huntington Beach. And I worked in Santa Ana. And everyone said to me, well, it was before that, before I bought the house. And they said, why aren't you going to buy a house? I was renting. And I said, I can't come up with 20% down. They're like, you don't need 20% down.
No, I need to.
I'm like, well, what do you mean? Well, you only need like three and a half. I'm like, what? So
let me buy 2.
I know. I actually.
What? Okay, I didn't even know. And there's a down payment assistance, and there's this, and there's that.
There are plenty of people that call and immediately, and they tell me already their budget because they have to pay 20% down. I'm like, well, actually, I think you should talk to our lender because maybe you can be pre-approved.
Jonathan,
for more
are you guys? Are there no down payment programs?
Can I say from just
There's
real,
plenty
like,
of down payment assistance
I
programs.
mean,
unless you have the assets and you're willing to put 20% down, that's really the only situation where people put 20% down. Because you want
to put more money down and then pay less per month. Or
I mean,
whatever,
is that a good way to put that?
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Pretty much everybody else, there's a program for you.
10 or less.
Where I'm coming from is, I tell everyone this. Did you know that it's no cost to you at all to use a real estate to buy a home in the state of California? No, hardly anyone knows that.
Yeah, they
hardly
do.
anyone
My
knows
wife,
that.
my wife didn't know that. She just asked that
But
question.
you
Okay,
know.
so let me. I want to add this for our. We've been talking about mortgage. I want to promote real estate for real estate agents for a second. Okay, so guess what? If you go directly to the listing agent because you're going to save money, like I did before I got my license, and I did that my whole life. I never used an agent. We're like, well, we're going to get a better deal because I'm so smart. I'm a business guy.
The worst
I'm going to go.
possible thing
Guess who represented me in those transactions?
Nobody.
Do you think that real estate agent that's listing a home for a person has signed a contract to sell their home for X is going to represent you?
Or put
You're
you
crazy.
first?
Yeah.
You're crazy.
So this is the funny thing because we just had a client do the same exact thing, and literally when it came down to I need my agent to represent me, they did not have their agent represent.
There's
me.
no agent.
There's no
I
agent
mean,
representing.
and the thing is obviously there's an exception to every rule, right?
Well, when we are the ones that list it,
Yes.
then you should use us for both.
Okay. No. Well, we're perfect, so no. But like you always say, is I'm not talking about the sometimes or the
the once in a while.
The once in a whiles. You're the mostlies.
Mostly.
And most agents, it seems like, because from the ones I've been connected with, they only care about themselves anyway. They could give a crap about their clients, it seems like, anyway. So if they already barely care about the client that they've listed the home for, because they don't like to answer their phone or respond to what the code is and let people in, try and actually sell the house, you think they're going to care about you and trying to buy the home and trying to get less, but they want to get more for that? You know what I mean? It's like
that's because, and we have to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So let me give you the answer to that.
It's like,
that's because the average agent before the 2009 market crashed averaged 2 deals a year.
Yeah.
Today, the average agent averages 1. You've heard the name Paige Hardy Hill in this meeting a couple of times. I think it was 2 weeks ago. She did 15 in that week.
Yeah.
Okay. So who do you want to work with?
Yeah.
I want to work with a busy person like you guys.
Definitely.
When you say you're working till 2 a.m. in the morning, do you know that I know for sure that I'm going to give you something that's going to get done?
Yeah.
And then I know that the new guy who only works an hour a day, I'm going to give him something that ain't going to get done.
So
this is kind of where we're coming
work
from.
week. It did not work at all.
So the end of this story becomes you need someone to represent you. You need to talk to qualified professionals. Hey, there's no obligation to work with any of us for anything. We're free info. I mean, you call 2 mortgage guys, you're going to get everything you need, and you know that it's right and it's appropriate and it's timely.
Yeah.
I mean, because seriously.
And you're working with a team.
Yeah.
I mean, is it safe to say that everyone has a friend of a friend of a friend who's an agent that they could help you out, whatever? But are they gonna do the good job, the best job for you?
I got a compliment from somebody, Harold Depew.
Depew.
The Depews.
Hi, Harold.
Hi, Harold. Hope you're listening. So basically, he had a family member in the business. He went to that family member in the beginning, and he was not treated the same as another client. He called us. We treated him like royalty, got the deal done. And basically, he told us, he's like, that was the best decision I ever made.
He put himself first.
You know what the opposite of that is so weird is that, I mean, this, you would only know if you were in my household. that my family members who have asked us to sell their homes that we didn't used to do this. Now we always just refer them.
Yeah.
First of all, for one
Family.
key reason,
Family.
real estate, would you agree, is a neighborhood business?
Yep.
So when you talk about the national everything, I always go back to, this is a national podcast, but I'm always coming back to what's going on in the Temecula Valley, Southern California Valley. I don't know LA County real estate.
Yeah.
Why would I go? I'm not going to do that. So when you're an agent and you think you're going to help someone, or let me put it this way. If you're a client and you have an agent in San Diego, LA, or Orange County, and you're coming out to the Temecula Valley, don't.
Yeah.
Because your agent doesn't know
Yeah.
anything. And I'm going to tell you what they do. They call us on the drive to see
Yeah.
the house. That's how much planning they put into your
Well,
life.
I will say too,
they don't know anything.
The person who I bought my house from used an Orange County agent,
Uh-huh.
and she was telling me, I wish I wouldn't have done that.
They all
Yeah.
say
Don't know where
that.
it
They
is.
all say
Yeah.
that at the
They
They
end.
don't know
Yeah.
the area.
Well, because they don't
And
know
they're
where they
wasting
don't even know
their
the
time
streets.
every single
They're on the
weekend
wrong
coming
freeway
out
half the
there.
time. So, well, that's good.
Well, anyway, guys, we're going to look to wrap this one up. We appreciate
Yeah.
you guys tuning into the Selling Yourself or Selling Yourself Short podcast. I always have to take a look at that. I'm like, what is that? Oh, yeah, pretty good. So, appreciate you guys
It's
tuning
new.
in. We're going to be back this next week. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you guys for coming on and talking today. And we will talk to
See
you
ya.
guys
Thank you,
soon.
sir. Goodbye.
All right, bye.